Alright, so my journey with the cast on crit frost build has concluded, and I'm on to my next project. And I think this is going to end up being, at least in my opinion, the build of the league. And I think it's important to emphasize that by build of the league, I also partially mean a build that was spawned because of new changes, and this is one of those builds. Claws in particular are kind of what make this so incredible. But this isn't accuracy stacking Juggernaut using Reeve. That's the skill I choose to use. I think it's really clean, it's lag free, there's no visual clutter, and it has an AoE that's the entire screen. It just feels extremely good. And before I even go into everything here, just understand that I am making this video before I make any upgrades to the character. This character right now is everything that I bought and did before I rolled Juggernaut, before I actually leveled the character. So I consider the stuff that I have on to be as budget as is possible. And it's important that you understand this is not a cheap build. It will never be a cheap build. There's no way to make it a cheap build. It will always cost you a lot of money. And I personally spent somewhere between 500 and 600 divines putting this character together. And like I said, I consider that to be a baseline. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to run a couple maps or something to showcase the character. Then I'm going to go over each piece of gear that I have, or actually I'll go to the POV first, and then I'll go over each piece of gear I have, what I did to acquire it, and how much it cost me. And that's how I'm going to start this, and that's why I don't want to make any upgrades yet, because I want this to be as a sort of to set as a baseline of like, if you have questions about budget, then you can watch this video, you can look at the stuff I have on, and you can determine how much it's going to cost you. And I am not going to go over variants of the build that aren't mine. So, for example, there's some that use +1 ring slot, but they don't use flasks with the new Bloodline Ascendancy. I don't want to play that version. I will never play that version, probably. I think Mage Blood is the best in slot option here, and that's just what I'm going to provide. But if you decide that you think maybe it's cheaper to do this +1 ring thing, which I don't think it actually will be, but if you somehow find a way to make it cheaper, then by all means go do the +1 ring slot yourself and look at the things on PoE Ninja for that. But for the purposes of what I'm going to cover, it's not going to include that. So I'm just going to run, and I'm not going to show the whole map. I'm just going to do like whatever's on the way to the boss and kill the boss and get out so I can get on with this. But just, I have a bunch of fortress maps rolled. I'm doing ambush strat with this tree. And just like before, and this isn't a very hard strategy to run, but regardless, fortress boss, you know, whatever. Also, this build can basically, as far as I can tell, it can do every single thing in the entire game easily. But I think it might kind of suck at it doesn't suck at strong boxes, but strong boxes like isn't enabling the build correctly, because like this build is so fast. It's like as fast as the KB clears. So it's kind of like, why bother doing strong boxes when you get stuck like this, opening boxes, when you want to be like running across the entire map. And so the way Reeve works, you can barely see it, right? But it's like this little rainbow looking thing that's spawning this wave. That's my AoE. It goes all the way out to there. However, if you press Vol Reeve and you hit every enemy you hit will increase your stacks of Reeve up here in the corner. Each stack gives you increased AoE, or more AoE I should say. And 10 is the max when you use Vol Reeve. So each one will give you +1 that you hit. So you want to use Vol Reeve every once in a while, and then as long as you attack in a span of like 3 seconds, it'll never go down. But if you, I'll like show you here, if I stop attacking for a meaningful amount of time, the stacks will start going down. And so if you ever stop to like loot and stuff, you have to like put the stacks back up to 10 with Vol Reeve. But it's an instant attack, like it's so fast you don't even notice you're pressing it. But here's what's cool though. The AoE is so big And the way multi-strike works in this game is after the first hit, the second hits will auto-target if you're not targeting something. So you can literally just stand in the center of stuff like Breach or Delve or whatever it is. You can just stand here and just hold down right click. Like you're a ranged character with melee stats. That's what this is.
Not long now.
And your attack speed is so high that you use whirling blades to just move around. You don't even care about movement speed, honestly. You can skip movement speed on your boots if you wanted. There's pretty much no downside to doing so. Yeah, look how fast you can just... In Fortress, again, this is a bad example of maps to showcase its speed. But if you're doing like dunes or something, man, you just zip across that fucker so fast. And my character currently has 25% insta-leech, which feels really, really good. But it doesn't have any recovery without the leech. And so you're using Ghost Reaver, right? So that can be something. And I'm trying to figure out if there's a way around that. Somehow get some regen or something. Because Ghost Shadows aren't possible for a reason that I'll briefly mention later. But let me just rush to the boss so you can see it. And this is about 80 mil DPS. He has no buffs, so he's just regular. But yeah, this is my favorite thing about the build. Like, it's basically ranged, has no visual clutter, covers the entire screen. I mean, what more can you ask for? I'll quickly actually open a bunch of boxes and just try to run through them all so it looks like a normal map. Of course, I'm getting stuck on the boxes. Okay, I mean, you get it. So I'll just pause. Actually, no, I have to go back to hideout because I'm going to show gear and stuff, but don't worry, this map's not going to be wasted. I'm going to do it. So now I'm going to go into the POV. I just recorded my POV segment and didn't realize that my display capture wasn't even on. So now I have to do it again. So here's the stats of the character. 4 million average hit, 88 million DPS. This is the EHP without Immortal Call. If I tick Immortal Call, you'll see it go up. Where is it? Wait, actually, where is it? Okay. You can see that's massive because obviously I have Neuron charges, so it feels really good. And it procs somewhat often, I've noticed from playing. And he has 12.9k. This will go to 16 to 20k easily. It's just a matter of getting better jewels and just better everything. Mostly jewels though, because I don't have any AS on any of my clusters. Stacks a decent amount of evasion. And then you get 90 L-res pretty easily. Here's the configuration. There's only one thing here that might be like sometimes not going to be on, but time spent stationary, this is important for Arctic armor. Obviously you're standing still while you're attacking. Power charges, I don't... If you guys can figure out where I'm getting power charges from, please. Actually, no, I just realized it's Assassin's Mark. It's obviously Assassin. So yeah, you get power charges from Assassin's Mark. Endurance charges. Obviously your Juggernaut. Tailwind from boots, elusive from boots. I do half ridge calculation. And this is the thing that might not always be up, the frost shield. But let's just assume that it is, because if you press your buttons, it will be. Press your buttons. Sigil power. Pretty much always going to be there. Again, press your buttons. Shock. This is actually conservative. Normally I'm seeing 35% shocks. Even against Ubers and things, so this is conservative. If it's 35, I get quite a bit more damage, but and then exposed to lightning from Awakened Lightning Pen. So that's the stats in the thing here. I'll go into game and look at the jewels and everything. So firstly, I'll talk about the ascendancy real quick. So your accuracy stack because of on Juggernaut because of this node. You get 1% attack speed for 150 accuracy. Obviously a little bit bonus accuracy from the 500 and some from your strength. This is like what, slightly over 700. And you can see the accuracy rating on this character is 1,000 or 126,000. So that's a lot of attack speed. Attack time on this is 0.05. It's very low. And you take Unstoppable because it just feels amazingly good. You get stun immunity, and your action speed and movement speed modifier feels so good on T17s and Delirium. And then obviously you take Unflinching for Enduring Charges. And now you could take something else here, like you could take Unyielding if you wanted to just for some reason do that. Be Unrelenting would be nice. But I prefer Spectral Tigers. 125% crit chance goes a long way on this build, just like as it does for most, which I think is in the calculations here, right? It's not actually, so sorry. So actually, I have 100 mil DPS. Forgot to include the crit chance. So that's that. And then they also, of course, sometimes they take damage for you, which is kind of nice. But yeah, that's the ascendancies. Not really a whole lot of room for wiggling here. But if you want to do something else, you can. If you don't want to do the tigers, you can do something else. This is probably the most efficient damage thing you can do. So here you do brute force solution. I'm pretty sure every single person does this. This one here gives, let me check. That brute force gives 166 int. And then I have a second one here. Other jewels are better here, like Emperor's Mastery or Emperor's Wit are better jewels to equip. But those are 50 to each right now, and I just don't... I'm saving for a Simplex as my next upgrade, so... But this one does give 107 int, so if you don't have anything else to put there, or you're on a lower budget, then that's a good option. Because these are basically free. I think they're like 10C. And then the first cluster has Bound by Destiny with 14% int, which costs 60 divines now, which is really crazy. But it is worth it. How much int is that giving? 207, so... And intelligence on this character, by the way, is like, I'll explain it in the deep dive why it's so efficient. But like, look, this 30 int node is a 5 million damage node. Okay? So int is really important. Really, really important. More important than an int stacker. Oh, and then Melding of the Flesh right here. With this roll, 70. It's 1 off max, or min, I guess. Then I have 2 rare jewels here. These could be Forbidden Flames and Flesh, and there's a few different ones you can pick. But I chose to just solve my resistances this way and get +2 to max lightning for my melding to get 90. So that's what those are. These are probably like 2D each. Storm Shroud for ailment immunity. Random jewel for my stash. Could be upgraded. It's decent though. It's max ES and a custom int. Why not? Very easy to upgrade though. Probably should get a corrupted blood immune jewel here. Lethal Pride with Rage on melee hit, melee crit multi, Leech, melee crit multi, Anointing Claws of the Falcon here. Super cheap, very good. 2 split personalities with int and accuracy. These are like slightly under 2 divine each right now. And then my clusters are very budget. They're as budget as they can be. I spent about 20D crafting them myself. I used 4 fracturing orbs. 2 of them were wins, 2 of them were not. But this is the first one. This one was a lose, but I ended up just settling on the craft at the time. This is where you'll save the most money, by the way. If you're going to try to do like some budget stuff, this is where you'll save your money. These perfectly rolled are like 60 to 100D probably. So if you do this method, you'll save a lot of money. Obviously, way worse jewels, but... And there's this one. This one was a win on the fracture, and then I just settled on this to solve my resistances. This one's a lose on the fracture, and then I just settled on what it already rolled. And this one was a win, and the only thing it's missing is useful prefix. Obviously max ES would be best, but here I am with useless max life. But that's where you can save the most money, so I do suggest just trying to craft your own clusters. Use the fracturing orbs. Oh, here's a Watcher's Eye as well, I forgot. The best one is to get minus 10 mana cost with crit multi on precision. But if you're on a budget like I am, which, by the way, budget means like 500 to 600 divine, the attack damage one is good. And these are only 5D right now, but yeah, you can see 16.87 tooltip. If I take this off, 16.2, so it's a 500k tooltip increase. It's not meaningless. The mana cost thing feels really kind of mandatory. And then for the gear, the fun part, here's the new item that kind of glues everything together. And these are not expensive. You can see they're 10C, but I do suggest you get a crit chance implicit corruption, just to make them a little bit better. And then if you wanted to really push it, get like crit chance with frenzy charge on kill. Gives even more damage for mapping. But that's not required. Obviously attack speed would be overkill too, but yeah. I mean, crit chance is probably the best thing you can get on the implicits. So I just have 2 of those. And then everything else is expensive, right? Except for the gloves. The gloves are not expensive. I'm going to get attack crit implicit later, but they're like 20D. I just didn't feel like spending 20D on that at the time. But for now, I'm doing my auras in here with +2 aura. But yeah, these are incredible. So I just turned my auras off just so you understand. Watch what happens if I take these gloves off. Okay, I have 16.8. It goes down to 5.8. Alright, so that's like 75% of our damage. Or like 66%, I mean. A little bit more than that, actually. But yeah. Gives +4 accuracy per 2 intelligence. Okay, so like this is massive. How much accuracy is that total? About half. So yeah. Don't get any other gloves. And they're cheap anyway, so it's fine. I should probably quality them, why not? The boots, gonna be one of the most expensive things here, probably. If you want really good ones. I don't remember what I paid for these, so I'm just gonna try to price check it. Storm Rider boots. Okay, it looks like at least 20D. Oh wait, elusive on crit. 23D for ones with that movement speed, so I'll just say like 30. Which isn't actually as bad as I thought. You want to make sure they're Crusader though. Absolutely make sure they're Crusader. But this gives you like all of your flat added damage, and it does give a lot of flat. This is the ring I bought. This was 90 divines. Big chunk of big chunk of crit multi without any negatives. So that's nice. Helmet, Crusader, 55 int, 11% int. 400 ES, and I got accuracy on it too. I think this was 40D or something like that. Yeah, because the accuracy was what made it sexy to me, so it was like 40 or 50. I crafted this body armor. I bought the fracture for like 20C because it's so cheap right now. And then I just crafted this with maybe 5 divines of essences total. Pretty damn good roll. Can't complain. And I made sure that this was cold resistance on here. I think I changed this one to cold resistance because my boots have lightning and fire, so it made it nice and easy to balance that out. This is the budget amulet I suggest if you don't have simplex. Attributes crit multi Great Wolf, which this one was 40 divines. But better than spending 230 that you don't have, so. And obviously Mage Blood. What's this up to these days? 210 divine. And I think that's it for the gear. I'm not using Awakened Multi-Strike, using Pulverize, Awakened Ally with attacks. You kind of have to use Awakened Area of Effect, unfortunately, but mandatory. Reeve, obviously Vol Reeve. Getting +1 on this is actually a big deal. It goes from like 530 effectiveness of added damage to 570. Awakened Lightning Pen, of course. Sigil Power here, Frost Shield, Clarity, level 3, it should just be level 1, doesn't matter. Frost Blink, I prefer Frost Blink for getting over gaps and stuff because it's instant cast. Some people use Flame Dash. Mark on hit with Enhance and Assassin's Mark. Arctic Armor, Purity of Lightning, Flesh and Stone. And then the Immortal Call, cast 1 damage taken, setup. Precision here. And then I have Whirling Blades. Now, I'm going to change these lengths. You're supposed to have it with, like, Fortify. But before I knew to change to Predictive, which, by the way, if you're having trouble and your Whirling Blades is not controllable, turn off Lockstep and go to Predictive. Which is here. You have to go to the login screen, but change this. It makes the biggest difference in the world. But yeah, my solution was to try to lower its attack speed, which didn't end up helping. It was still too high. So I gotta put Fortify back on over here, but yeah, that is where my character is. That's how I put it together. If you want to find examples to look at on PoE Ninjas, click Juggernaut, just scroll to her Reeve. And if you are specifically gonna look for Mage Blood versions, then just do the Mage Blood versions, because I don't know anything about. I know how the other ones work. I just don't like the setup. Mage Blood's just better. But yeah, like you can just click someone, and you'll see it's really, really similar setups about everywhere you go. But yeah, you can expect absolutely a deep dive on this. It might take a little while to make it because I have to make really expensive upgrades, and I also have to cover a lot in the video. So, but yeah, that's the character so far. Oh, really quick, I forgot to mention these two grafts. They're both doing nothing other than the implicit 1% increased melee damage per 20 int. 2 of them. These cost 20D each. So, yeah, forgot about that.